I'm going to say to the Jewish American community in Michigan and beyond, stand with you. Senator Ray Peters, he said, quote, "My heart is at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield. I am monitoring the situation and people should follow the direction of law enforcement. I'm grateful for these first responders for their quick response. All Americans should feel safe where they pray, work, and live. Anti-Semitism has no place in our society, and we all must come together to condemn this horrible violence." And we can also add that, earlier today, Erica, the sheriff did establish a lockdown or a shelter in place in a mile radius of the Temple Israel, and we've since learned that that's been lifted.
Just moments ago, that mile radius, that temple, if anyone isn't sure where that's located, it's at Walnut Lake. That's near Drake and Farmington.
Yes.
In West Bloomfield. That mile radius was on lockdown. That's just been lifted.
Yeah, but we should press that the investigation still is ongoing as police and law enforcement from multiple agencies are making their way through the building. Sheriff Broussard and others told us that they were not sure whether or not there was any other devices that may be compromising that building right now. So they want to be very thorough in their approach and making sure that the building gets the all clear. That building hasn't been cleared officially yet because they still have some investigative work to do inside.
Yeah, and so everyone, please avoid the area. That is still, we have not gotten any word on that yet either.
Yeah, meantime, families are continuing to reconnect. We heard from some individuals in that community who were rushing to the scene to find children and loved ones who had to evacuate the building. Again, we are hearing from law enforcement that everyone did make it out safely. One person inside the car that breached that building was killed and still inside that vehicle. It hasn't yet been removed from the building. And we do know that Amaya Kuznicki, she's there. So Amaya, people are starting to leave the building. You got an update for us?
Yeah. Right now at the JCC, we just saw a pretty big wave of people leaving the building. I don't know if you can see it anymore, but you can see them in the parking lot just kind of making their way to their cars. Now, there have been people inside this building coming in and out slowly, probably for about the past hour. Just a little bit ago, you heard from that husband out here. His name was Sam, that had his wife inside, and she was actually part of making sure that these kids got reunited with their families. He was still out here just moments ago, but he actually left. So hopefully maybe he gets to see his wife after a long time of waiting. But, it is starting to clear out in this area, and we've been here monitoring it. I think someone's leaving right now, you can see, out of the building, but it is definitely dying down, kind of the same as what Lauren said over on her end. People are starting to wrap up and hopefully make their way home and kind of hopefully put a little bit of this day behind them. I know it's something that's going to be a heavy weight that they probably carry with them, but at least they get to hug their family members, be home and safe, which is the most important thing out of all of this.
It's been so chaotic and just maybe a little bit of sense of relief for the moment. Thank you so much, Maya.
Yeah, I can tell you that sources are just notifying me that they're receiving note from some of their temples in Metro Detroit that lockdowns and security notices that lifts on lockdowns are happening right now, but they'll continue to have heightened security presences supported by local and state law enforcement partners across those temples and religious centers throughout the evening and possibly into this week. Again, so much to unpack here today.
Even before this, Damon, we've been talking with different churches about how they had been heightening security before this, months before this.
I even mentioned that even at my own church. I'm Catholic, but there have been conversations across the diocese about putting in security teams too, asking people to become part of security teams. So there are ongoing conversations across faith groups and religious centers about increasing security. The good news, again, and can't stress this enough, is that multiple sources have told us that at Temple Israel, they have a good security program. They've had good security protocols in place in partnership with local police and sheriff's office, and whatever happened there today did not get worse because they were alert, they were on point, and they were prepared. Again, let's recap a little bit. Earlier today, around noontime, we got notice, and the sheriff's department was notified about an active shooter call. The details that have been communicated is that a car came into the Temple Israel, it breached the building, that car drove down the hallway, a security guard engaged the driver, that driver now deceased inside the vehicle, no kids, no children or staff were injured, no victims other than one of the lead security guards was hit by the car and taken to the hospital, knocked unconscious, and will likely be okay. Again, Local 4 has learned that the suspect is dead, but investigators are still determining whether the fatal injuries happened during the exchange with security or later.
Sheriff Mike Bouchard says the building also houses a preschool, a massive preschool, we're told. The good news, again, no children or preschool staff were hurt. A security guard was injured, again, when the vehicle hit the building. We're working to confirm the guard's condition, but we're told they were okay. They were treated and okay.
For now, authorities have lifted the shelter in place within about a 1-mile radius around the scene of Temple Israel. The FBI assisted with the investigation. And again, he did that right now of people reuniting with their family members. The sheriff did mention that this is an ongoing investigation. They're trying to secure the scene through that bomb-sniffing dogs that have been called to that temple right now. And again, just look at this, Erica. You see people taking their children away.
Taking their children away, as we're told also FBI taking the lead on this investigation. And I want to reiterate one quote that Sheriff Bouchard said. He said he was traveling with purpose. This driver went all the way into this temple, through the doors, through all the way into the hallway where these.
Welcome back to NBC News Daily. We are continuing to follow breaking news out of Michigan. A suspect is dead after an attack at a synagogue. The county sheriff says security fired at an individual who drove into the building with a car. Something then ignited inside that vehicle, causing it to catch fire. The sheriff says bomb-sniffing dogs and experts are looking at the suspect's car now for any explosive devices. A security guard was injured and is expected to be okay, according to the sheriff. The synagogue also houses a school, and the sheriff says no children or staff were injured. We have team coverage of this story and analysts joining us now. NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter, NBC News law enforcement analyst Evie Pamporis, NBC News law enforcement analyst Jim Kavanaugh, and George Kalina. He is the retired chief of police for the Miami Police Department. Thank you all for being here. Tom, I'll start with you for sort of the nuts and bolts here. For our viewers just joining us, bring us up to speed about what we know here.
Yeah, Zinkley, we're actually monitoring two serious incidents in this country. And let's start with the incident in Michigan, the one you've been referring to at Temple Israel in West Bloomington. This incident, right now, West Bloomfield, excuse me, we still don't know the specific motive for this. But we are told is that if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you see some lighter smoke coming out of an entryway in that building. We're told that a vehicle, possibly a truck, drove through that entrance into the middle of that building, which also houses a school. There was smoke coming from the center of it. You're looking at it there. As you mentioned, yes, that vehicle, once it stopped, there was some sort of a fire that erupted, so potentially an incendiary device or fireworks. They're taking a look at all of that, as you mentioned, with the bomb squad and the dogs. This incident was stopped in part because of the work of security guard officers, one of whom was injured, is expected to survive, had a concussion, according to the sheriff. They fired upon that vehicle, and after it came to a stop, that's when the fire erupted. The car is heavily burned. We are told there's no identification yet on the suspect, but we did hear from the sheriff there that apparently this individual, there's some initial indications that this might be a federal crime, which would seem to imply that the school was specifically targeted, and that this could be either an act of anti-Semitism, some sort of a hate crime, or potentially an act of terrorism. We just still need to figure that out. And then, as far as the other incident, there was a shooting earlier today at Old Dominion, which left a suspect dead, another person dead, and two others injured. We're now being told that a man previously convicted of providing material support to ISIS has been identified by authorities as the person responsible for that shooting. That's according to multiple law enforcement officials briefed on the matter. They say Mohammed Baylor Jallo, born in 1989 from Sterling, Virginia, specifically targeted an ROTC class. You're looking at video from that scene. Jallo apparently is a former member of the Army National Guard. He was arrested in 2016 for attempting to provide material support to ISIS. According to public court documents, he was sentenced to 11 years in jail and was released from federal custody in 2024. So that's the incident that happened in Virginia today. Suffice to say, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, both in Detroit as well as the Eastern District of Virginia, very closely, the Norfolk office of the FBI, very closely following this. And it just seems to indicate kind of what we're dealing with in this country at the moment.
Yeah, no, Tom, and appreciate all your reporting on this because, as you say, right, in light of this incident in Michigan, in light of the shooting at Old Dominion University, a school in Norfolk, Virginia, what are your sources saying about the overall threat level around the country, Tom?
Yeah, it's really high. And, you know, it's been described by, and give her all the credit, Deputy Commissioner Rebecca Weiner of the NYPD's Intelligence and Counterterrorism Division, is everything, everywhere, all at once. We're facing a whole host of threats in this country. And given the situation in the Middle East, the ongoing war involving Iran, the U.S., and Israel, tensions are extraordinarily high. And so this particular Temple Israel, we're back now focusing on the incident in Michigan. They had actually active shooter training with the FBI just in the last several months. They had these armed security guards there. So everybody is acutely aware of the threat to the Jewish community, acutely aware of the tensions in the Middle East. We had the shooting in Austin at a bar there, the individual wearing Iranian and pro-Iranian gear. So that's something that we saw there. We've had just a host of incidents, and I think everybody now knows it's no surprise that authorities are very much paying attention to the potential threats that all of these institutions face.
Absolutely. Tom, thanks so much. Jim Kavanaugh, I want to bring you in now because we do know, as Tom said, the FBI, ATF, both responding here. We've seen bomb squads on the ground. What are all of their roles in the investigation at this moment?
Well, the first role they play is they're investigators. ATF, FBI, Michigan State Police, you know, they're detectives. They interview witnesses, they collect evidence, they can serve warrants, they have powers of arrest. So the first thing they all do collectively is run down leads and do the investigation. And then they separate off into whatever specialties may be needed. This looks like maybe a vehicle and arson attack, and ATF's the bomb and arson experts, so they can really help there. FBI also has bomb experts, and the FBI is the terrorism experts of the government. And they enforce the terrorism law, international terrorism, and also hate crimes. So this could go either way. Generally, the attacks on these synagogues and Jewish temples and so forth. I mean, I've personally arrested the Ku Klux Klan for putting bombs at Jewish temples and worked many attacks at synagogues, shootings and bombings and arsons that were perpetrated by Klansmen and neo-Nazis, and sometimes international terrorism cases I've been involved in as well. So those are the maybe.
Okay, everybody, thank you for watching on Rumble. If you're not on Rumble, you won't have access. Now I'm going to remove the stream. We're streaming on Rumble. You can click